Hello and welcome. These are horse racing selections for Wednesday, the 17th of May. I am Flat Cap Callum and I'm hoping you are all very, very well. Also to flag at the end of the vid, I have got a £10 staking plan for the USPGA Golf Championship for those that want. So I'm going to do all the horse stuff first, and then if you want the golf, feel free to fast forward to the end, or watch all the horses and all the golf. Entirely up to you. All right, what we got to do? We've got to go through Wednesday's selections. I've got to do a review of Sunday, quick mention on the comments, and probably a few other things that I haven't quite remembered up right now. It's a very late upload. It's a very late at night recording. Literally to the point where just before the video I'm like, a bit peckish. So I found some olives and I had a glass of milk. So sort of feel a bit pretentious and a bit like a toddler at the same time. So late night olives and milk. Who knows what I'm going to dream about at the time when I go to bed after this. And the other thing that I've done tonight that I'm just a bit gutted about is inadvertently drew with a Sharpie on the screen of my laptop. So that is not what you want. So if anyone's got any top tips of how to get a Sharpie pen off a screen of a laptop, bear in mind this is a newer laptop. It's not state of the art and didn't cost me thousands, but I've only had the laptop a few months because the old one bust. So anyone's got any top tips how to get a Sharpie pen off a laptop screen, I'd be very grateful, because at the moment I've got like a sort of pinky, magenta diagonal line across my screen. Not cool. Anyway, if anyone wants to throw horses, I'll get onto that now, shall I? For Wednesday, it is a stake and a half plan. So it's a £30 plan. Gonna go reasonably okay with York for Wednesday. So just over half the stake is on York. I've separated the bets out, so it's 6 bets in total, 3 bets at York, 2 at Cork, and 1 of other bits, basically. I wanted to keep the Cork stuff separate. So on the channel, the history is York has not been our friend at all. For whatever reason, I've had a right funny read of York. So I've taken extra time tonight to go through the York stuff, to try my hardest to try and find where we can have a decent day at York. But last year at Ebor Festival we got a bit done over, but there's been various others. It's not gone great at York, but I like to be up front and with the statistics. But I've had to look through. So the first thing I did, and again, this is hopefully for advice for people. The first thing I did when I started researching was I went back to last year and the year before, and then I think it was a COVID year, and then the year before that, to basically have a look at, if I read the races on the main handicaps, what can I learn from the horses that were winning? Can I learn anything from a draw point of view? Can I learn anything from a form point of view? Can I learn anything from a pace point of view? York is one of those tracks, it throws up different types of results. You can't always get it right on the draw. The ground changes, the draw changes, the pace can change. So then you're like, well, okay, well, if all of those are changeable, do I just go for the horse that's got what I think the best form is? But that doesn't always work out either. And horses do generally like, if they like York, they'll run well at York. It's a track that some like and some don't. So you find decent horses just turn up at York and fall flat. You generally find if a horse likes York, it will run well there. But unlike something like Ascot, where a horse likes Ascot, pretty much runs well at Ascot every time, at York, they're all open to duffing runs. So it's, I don't know what it is. To be fair, I hadn't realised until I started doing the channel what it was, my stats on York, because previously it's not been so bad, and I think it's maybe in recent years something's changed. But anywho, it's a long-winded way of saying I've put in extra effort. So if it doesn't happen at York for today, then I'll be absolutely furious. We will see. There's extra effort gone in to York, and so what should we do about Sunday's bets? Very quickly, 20 on it was 14.72. It was a mixed bag. Did the Longchamp lucky, it was a 50p each, 50p win Trixie, get the right bet. Second, first, so nothing back but close. This one was the one that was profitable. We had a non-runner. That one didn't perform well, which I was surprised about. That ran a great race from the front and was third. And Zucayan went and won. And that one shortened up a little bit. So it was a win, a place. And then because the additional double was with a non-runner, there was an additional single basically that went on Saturn for the channel stats. So that was a decent profitable bet. And then Hamilton. I mean, I said I wasn't keen on Hamilton in terms of I don't have a great record there. Rubbish, absolute rubbish. So we had Dundalry drifted to 18s and placed second. That was it. There was a non-runner. The first three were no good. And then in the combination double, we did have a non-runner, but nothing else was any good. So so the Trixie was close. The lucky 15 of randomness got us a profit, and then Hamilton stuffed us, so it ended up being a slight loss. So we ended last week minus £43. So not good. It was 2 days stake. Third worst week of the year. That being said, there were a lot worse weeks we had last year. So £43 in 1 week is not. There's been a lot worse weeks than that, but it's the third worst week of the year. So that's not great because we were turning a nice corner, and now we're back to minus 120 for the year. So channel's well over 2,000, but yeah, this year has been hard work, and I appreciate. It feels like for a lot of people it's been a bit hard work. It's been hard work for me. So yeah, I think we're minus 6.5%. So last year up 36%, minus 6.5% this year. So it's leveling out at 26%. So that's the stats rundown. And some people are here for a long term. Some people don't really care what the stats are. I get that. The stats are important to me because that's my own personal barometer of how decent I've been doing. I know some people not interested. They just happily just follow a YouTube chipster, and that's fine. And I seem like an all right bloke. Not everyone thinks that. There was another one in the other day. Not a fan. But most people I think I'm all right. So it's a bit confusing because not everyone cares about the stats. I care about the stats. That's important to me. That's where we are for the week. Then in the comments I put 4 in on Monday. And one I went quite big on, and they were all rubbish. And then I didn't put anything on Tuesday. But the point on Monday, just to reiterate for those who didn't see it in the comments, I put a horse in there, and it's a really great way of describing how cynical the bookies can be sometimes. So you had a handicap race at Killarney. The horse I liked was 50-1. And there was at the time I wrote the comment, an 11-4 favourite, and that had been backed in from 9-2. The 11-4 favourite won a race the day before, so the chances of it turning out again over hurdles on consecutive days is very, very unlikely. So what I said was that don't back the horse, basically the one that I like, until that one has been declared a non-runner on the morning. Sure enough, that horse was declared a non-runner about 8:30, 8 o'clock, I can't quite remember, after then being moved into 9-4. So you would have got a 30p rule 4, but then after the horse came out, the market didn't shift, and that was the point I was trying to make. You could tell from the over round figure, and I try to not go into some of this stuff because some people get baffled by it. The over round figure is like a technical term for what percentage of profit the bookies on average would make from that race. And usually, if you're dealing with an exchange market, there shouldn't really be much of an overround because the exchange is basically taking commission, so they don't need to make profit in the same way. From a sports book, they generally would find on average around about 110%. So they're basically taking about 10% profit on average. Whereas the time that race was priced up, there was a few reserves that were going to come out, and therefore it's artificial, but still it was 156%. So on average race, bookies might take 10%, and it's not precise science, that's on average, but 156%, so that's a 56% profit. Outrageous. So all horses were subject to a 30p rule 4 deduction beforehand. And there would be plenty of people that wouldn't have even noticed that and would have backed a bunch of horses and got a 30p rule 4 deduction for a horse that was guaranteed pretty much to come out. So it's frustrating because that horse, that was a 9-2, 11-4 into 9-4, and the difference between 11-4 and 9-4 is 30p rule 4 deduction versus 25p rule 4 deduction. Anyhow, long. That's anyway. This video is already going to be really long. I'm going to stop chatting about that. So, what are we getting on with Wednesday? Because I've got golf to do too. Okay, this is the other bet, as I recall it, and they're all risky ones. Basically, I've got 4 risky ones. So outside of Cork and York, the rhyming meetings, this is what I've got. Nothing at Perth. I've got 1 Worcester, 1 Newton Abbot, 2 Bath, or Bath, depending on how you would like to pronounce it. 140 Worcester, slightly less riskier one of the 4, definitely. East Illich 22s. Really, really keen on that price. I would have that easy half the price. I think there's tons of value in that one. I can't quite see why it is the price it is, whereas the others, I can understand why they are the rank outsiders in their respective races in terms of how the betting market has it. But East Illich, yeah, I don't think that should be that price. 345 Newton Abbot, Galante de Remay. It's an 8-runner race, so we're risking it here in a bit with this time of doing a video. If we get 1 non-runner, then it's down to 7 places. So at the moment it's standard terms, but I think there's enough form in that horse to say that price is too big. Not sure what the market's going to make of it, but from my perspective, it's definitely got value in at 33s. Bear Former says the horse looks better on soft, but if you actually go right to the depth of breeding says the horse is versatile and hasn't probably been running to standard on better ground. So it's better ground than what it's run on particularly. So I think it's good to soft as it's run on. I think it's supposed to be good at Newton Abbot, or it might certainly be by the time it dries up. But I think that's worth chancing. The race looks poor quality, and I think that horse has potentially got more in the tank than what it's shown. So worth chancing. And then in Bath, we've got 2 horses here. Sky are both 4 on these races, I should flag. Everyone else is 3. They're about 11 runners. Lucky Mascot and Kraken Filly. So Lucky Mascot in the 710, Kraken Filly in 740. They're both horses that I think have got potential to be better than what they've shown. Lucky Mascot didn't run too bad last time, and I think, I'm off memory, I think that's stepping up in distance. So I think it ran mile last time, stepping up 10 furlongs, and I think it looks a potential improver for that. And 50 to 1 looks very, very big for that horse. Then the 740 Kraken Filly, that one definitely is a little bit less to go on there, but I still think that's worth chancing at the prices for having a lot more potential than what's currently come out on paper. So it's Sky best, then 365 Cole and Betfred next best. This is the only bet that I've made a bit complicated, and it was to round it up to the £30. So an unusual 11 pence lucky each way lucky 15. Because they're big prices and they're risky, I wanted to make sure I've got more money on singles and doubles than worry about the treble and the accumulator, because if a treble lands, whatever the pence we've put on it, that's an excellent return. So I've got an extra 20p each way singles on all 4. So that's 4 20p each way singles. And then we've got 2 doubles. So I've got the Worcester and the Newton Abbot one in a 25p each way double. And then if the front 2 go down, at least when we get down to Bath, we've got a chance there of a 25p each way double on the 2 biggies at Bath. So it works out 5.90 a bet. So that's 3.30. That should add up to 1.60, and that add up to £1. The whole thing's 5.90. That's bet 1. Everything else is far less complicated than that. Okay, so we're into York. 3 bets of York. A lucky 15, a Yankee, and a big combo bet in terms of it's got 7 horses in it. So this is my decent priced lucky for York. 150 Dark Jedi 33s, 225 Gantafar 25s, that needs to bounce back a bit. 410 Hey Lila, that's a 3-year-old handicap, so less keen, but I still think the price is good. And then 515, there wasn't much I liked in that race, and then Molinari seems inconsistent, but 28s, I didn't want to walk past it when there was nothing else really strong. So 20p each way lucky 15, Sky best, 365 and Paddy joint second best, Hills and Betfair joint third best. That's because you get the same place term those bottom 4, but 365 and Paddy will pay you best price guaranteed on multiples. So decent price, that one. That's probably that's our kind of main hope really at York. But we'll see what happens, because they are big old prices. So that's for York lucky. I've then got a shorter one that I've done as a Yankee for similar races. So 150 Crystal Delight at 9s, 225 Bielsa at 12s. Then I've got a shorty in there in that race. I do think that horse really on form. I think just about the horse that's most likely to win because of the 3-year-old allowance it's got. So for me, 4-1 is short, but with those other ones, I was like, it really looks like if it runs to form, it should make the frame. So first three, there's a couple of bookies, Sky and 365 are paying 4 places. And then we've got 515 Kievar 9-1. So it's a 25p each way Yankee. So each way doubles, trebles, and fourfold. No singles on those 4. Sky, then 365 because of Marshman, and then Paddy, Hills, and Betfair joint next best. 550 is your bet. That is bet 3. Then bet 4. The last bet for York is this. So I've got the 2 big handicaps in there, and I've gone 3 in the first, 4 in the second. So the 150 Dark Jedi 33s. I didn't like anything else at a price. I wasn't keen on the front 3 in the market. And then the next 3 down were all 9-1, and I've edged it on these 2. So Crystal Delight 9s, 4s at Alter at 9. So not big. We're trying to hit 2 winners really here, as opposed to sometimes I do these and it's like, get a couple in each leg, we'd be fine. But to be fair, if there was a couple in each leg, we still make a profit. Then the 225, that's a really open race, but Bielsa at 12s I think is a decent enough price for a horse that's won from a lower, sort of higher mark than that. Gantafar 25 has got nice back form. Spirit of Light ran a duffer last time, but if you go for previous form, good ground 6 furlongs, it's got potential at 25s. And then First Folio I've added in there as a shorter one at 9s. 12 times 20p each way doubles, 480 is your bet. Sky Best, then 365 and Paddy, and then Hills or Betfair. 480, that is what your bet is. And then the last 2 before we get to the golf are the Cork ones. So the Cork Lucky 15, 650 Dutch Glory. I'm hoping it's the right side of the draw. It's so hard with some of these tracks. So with Cork, they've got a 7 furlong on a bend and a 7 furlong on a straight. Cork on Wednesday night is a straight course. It should be a straight course for Cork on that one. And if you look at kind of draw bias, and it's not too dissimilar to York, to be fair. My read of it is high have a slight advantage, and then if it wasn't high, I'd want low, and I'd rather not be in the middle. So I've put I've got 2 in that one that are quite similar, and I've gone for the high draw in the lucky, and I've got another one that you'll see in my combination double. But Dutch Glory 22s on the basis that I'm hoping that high leads it. 720 Distillate 25s. 750 stuck that one. It was a bit more risky, that one, in the context of the race. It's a funny race and not necessarily the best betting race on paper. Wayside Lady at 16s, and then we've got 820 Maracruz 22s, 18p each way Lucky 15, 540 is your bet. Same place terms with 365 Paddy and Sky. So 365 and Paddy are better because you'll get bogged with them at the time after whatever it is, 8-9 o'clock in the morning. Can't remember off the top of my head. The bookies keep changing them, but you'll get bogged definitely by 9 o'clock for both of them. So they are better than Sky because you'll get the best price guaranteed. So that's 540 your bet. And then the last horse bet. I need to go to bed. Last horse bet is this. So combination double, 650 Dutch Glory on the high side, and we've got Super Cub on the low side, both at 22s. Hopefully that way I've spread my bet and I've got my preferred choice on each side of the track. And then we're going 820 Maracruz 22s, evening verse 14s. That's probably the one that I'm missing there is the inadvertent one I drew on my laptop screen. Evening verse 14s, 4 times 30p each way doubles, 240 is your bet. Same as the last bet, 365 or Paddy are better for getting best price guaranteed with the combination bet. Sky next best, but they're all the same place terms, which is basically 6 and 5. That is bet 6. Okay, that's those. If you want the golf, that's what I'm going to go through now. So as I've been doing with the golf, I'm just doing golf bets kind of intermittently, not as big as I did last year. It's the second major of the year, USPGA Championships. Harder one to read. You are more likely to get a few funny prices thrown up in there. So I've put together a £10 staking plan. It's entirely up to you what you do with it. It's not recorded for the statistics. What I have done as well is I've recommended where I think the best price is for each of the bets. So if you're betting elsewhere, my advice is get as close to the price I can get. If you're quite far away, then you're teetering on the lacking in value side of it. So main chunk, I've got 7 singles here. So we've got Hideki Matsuyama 50-1, 10 places on Paddy Power. Shane Lowry 60-1, 12 places on Coral. I think it's a really good bet that. 60-1, 12 places on Coral. Harris English, that's a nice price. 175-1, 10 places on Paddy. Then I've chucked in a couple of European ones that don't have form necessarily in kind of majors. But have been very solid on the European Tour, and I think my read of the golf course is that it's a long course, and I think driving will win out. So I'm much more worried about kind of where players are at with driving statistics than I am about putting and stuff like that. So when I've gone through the stuff from the European Tour players, from a value point of view, Adrian Moronk at 175 and Nikolai Højgaard at 175, they stand out as being the best of the Europeans. That being said, the USPGA Championship is not an event historically that has favoured European players. That being said, it's on a rotational course basis, so different courses will throw up different things. So that's what I'm going with for those. Chris Kirk 200-1. Adrian Monk 10 places, Paddy 175-1. Nikolai Højgaard, is that right? Hang on a second, bear with. I think I might have written that price wrong for Nicholas Højgaard, because I think he's 175-1, 10 places on Paddy, but I think when I checked it with 365, yes. Hang on a second. That should say 250-1. Right, get there in the end. Right, Nicholas Højgaard 250. That's the point. It was 175 with Paddy, 10 places, and then I realised it was 250, 8 places, 365. That's a better bet. So Nicholas Højgaard 250, 8 places, 365, and then the last one. I don't know if I've ever put a bigger price out, to be fair, but I definitely wanted to have this in there. It's so worth it for 2,000-1. So you got Oki Stridom, it's a South African player coming over to the US. This is not something that he does on a regular basis. He's historically played on fairly low level on things like the Sunshine Tour in South Africa. But he started to pick up this season, and he's won 2 tournaments, albeit not quality ones, but on the European on the DP World Tour. And on that basis, he's clearly got some talent in his bag. Most bookies are offering around about 1,000-1, 10 places. So 2,000-1, so double the price and lose 2 places. I know people would be like, oh, well, what about those extra 9th and 10th places? If you think about a tournament with 150 people, you'd be very, very unlucky. It's so much different to a horse race where I'm talking about I need top 4 and it comes 5th and there's 15 runners. Here we're talking about 150 odd golfers and the worry about coming 9th or 10th. Often people come tied for different places and stuff. So yeah, Oki Stridom 2,000-1. I am absolutely happy to put that in there. Now, the chances of the guy turning up on debut in the PGA Championship and doing something are very, very low. But they're not 2,000-1. They absolutely aren't 2,000-1. I think if I was pricing it up, I'd probably go somewhere in the region of maybe 200. It's harder to judge on the golf, to be fair. It's not. I haven't got quite the same read on horses, but I think there's 10 times value in that. That's what I'm saying. 10 times value from what there should be. So 200-1 is still very unlikely, but it's worth it from a value perspective. So recommended is 7 times 50p each way singles. That's those ones, and then I've got a couple of other little bits. This a bit annoying. There's 2 prices have come in on here, literally from I don't know. It was about 6 o'clock this evening, I think. top 20. So you can't do this with many bookmakers in terms of a multiple bet. So I usually default into Paddy here. So this is these 3 players to come in the top 20 is a Trixie, but you can do it in multiples. A lot of bookmakers let you take the bet, but they wouldn't do it in a multiple. Some people would say, well, it's not a great bet because you're basically competing against each other because you need them all to come in the top 20. So it's not like they're independently coming in the top 20. But I think I'm sound enough with these. So 3 players we've got as singles. Shane Lowry 7-2, Harris English 9-2, and Nikolai Højgaard 15-2. 50p win Trixie. So we're looking at 2 of them getting the top 20, and we at least double the money for the whole staking plan, pretty much, I think. And then if we get, it's not quite actually with the lowest 2, but then if all 3 comes in, we'll be laughing. So those 3 are the top 20, and then I really disappointed. I wanted to put in a side bet market for top category, and I only found one I was happy with. So I've just got a single here, top English player, and that's a standout price at Betfair. Matt Wallace 28-1, 50p each way single. There's places where you can get 14s on that. Don't touch that. That's not so good. 28-1 Betfair. So that's twice the lowest price available. That's a nice price. 50p each way single. That's top 3. So that is my £10 recommended bets. But just to be clear, I'm not recording it for stats. Personally, I have put money on those golfers with those bookmakers, not necessarily the stake that I'm illustrating there, but that is it. I will probably do some other golf bets, but that's the main chunk of my golf stake for this weekend of my personal money, my personal betting bank has gone down on those players in those bets with those bookmakers. I'm not, hopefully people understand, I don't go into exactly how much personally I'm staking because that's, my own finances and whatever, but so my own real money has gone there. But as I'm doing it ad hoc and stuff, I'm not recording it on the golf, but I've put a few golf bets out so far this year. We haven't got much back from it, and I put out one last week. I mentioned in a video, Scott Stollis. It was absolutely dire. So hopefully we'll have a little bit better. But yeah, entirely up to you whether you want to have an interest in the golf and stuff. But that is what my research has come out from a value perspective. That's where my cash has gone. All right, I'm definitely finishing there because it's ridiculously late when I'm uploading this. I will see you all Wednesday night for Thursday's bets, and very much hope that I will be uploading earlier than I have this specific video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.